January 28, 1986 began like a proud and historic morning at Kennedy Space Center. The cold air wrapped around the launch pad as Challenger stood ready for flight. Inside NASA's control room, engineers carefully monitored every system before launch. Families and spectators gathered early, excited to witness another journey into space. Krista McAuliffe's family smiled proudly as cameras focused on the historic mission. Inside the shuttle, the astronauts sat calmly, waiting for the countdown to finish. Ground crews cleared the launch area while final preparations continued smoothly. Beneath the shuttle, freezing temperatures silently affected critical booster components. More spectators filled the viewing area, pointing cameras toward the towering spacecraft. The countdown clock moved closer and closer to zero with every passing second. NASA flight controllers exchanged final confirmations through their headsets. Children in the crowd watched with amazement, dreaming of one day reaching space themselves. The astronauts tightened their grip on the controls as launch time approached. Thick white vapor drifted around the shuttle in the freezing morning air. Challenger stood against the bright sky like a symbol of human ambition. Some engineers quietly worried about the unusually cold weather conditions. The crowd began counting down together with growing excitement and anticipation. Deep below the shuttle, the ignition systems prepared to unleash enormous power. Inside the cockpit, the crew remained focused and professional during the final seconds. Then, with a thunderous roar, the engines came alive beneath Challenger. Massive flames burst from the launch pad as the shuttle began its ascent. Challenger slowly lifted into the sky, leaving behind clouds of smoke and fire. The crowd erupted in cheers as the shuttle climbed higher above Earth. The solid rocket boosters burned with incredible force and intensity. Inside the shuttle, powerful vibrations shook the crew during liftoff. Mission Control celebrated briefly before returning full attention to the flight data. Challenger soared upward, leaving a long white trail across the blue sky. But near one booster joint, a small puff of smoke appeared unexpectedly. Spectators continued cheering, unaware of the danger beginning to unfold. The shuttle accelerated rapidly as it climbed higher into the atmosphere. In Mission Control, engineers noticed unusual readings appearing on their screens. A faint stream of smoke escaped again from the booster connection point. The astronauts continued communicating calmly while the shuttle pushed higher. Far below, the growing smoke trail stretched across the Florida horizon. Some people in the crowd began noticing strange shapes in the exhaust plume. The flame from the booster started behaving irregularly under intense pressure. Engineers leaned closer to their monitors as warning signs slowly increased. Challenger passed through extreme aerodynamic forces high above the Earth. The dangerous flame leak became larger and more visible against the booster. Within seconds, the mission was approaching a catastrophic turning point. The escaping flame burned directly toward the shuttle's external fuel tank. Inside the cockpit, the astronauts still had no idea what was happening outside. Mission Control detected rapidly worsening data and rising system failures. The intense flame weakened the structure connecting the boosters and fuel tank. Spectators noticed something strange as the shuttle's trail suddenly changed shape. Enormous stress built across the shuttle as the structure began to fail. A sudden flash of light appeared high in the sky above the crowd. Then, in a horrifying instant, Challenger exploded into a massive fireball. The sky split apart into blazing fragments and twisting smoke trails. Cheers instantly turned into shock, confusion, and heartbreaking silence. Inside Mission Control, engineers sat frozen as they realized the tragedy unfolding. White smoke trails spread across the sky like scars above the ocean. Children and families stared upward, unable to understand what they had just witnessed. The remains of the shuttle drifted silently through the cold upper atmosphere. NASA controllers struggled to process the devastating loss before them. Across the sky, the broken smoke patterns slowly expanded in every direction. The crowd stood completely silent, watching the tragedy in disbelief. The once clear sky became filled with fading smoke and sorrow. As the debris trails slowly disappeared, a painful silence covered the launch site. The Challenger disaster became one of the most tragic moments in space exploration history. If you're enjoying our content and want to see more powerful stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel, leave a like, and share this video with your friends. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss our next episode. Your support helps us continue bringing cinematic and educational stories to life. Stay tuned for more unforgettable moments from history.